All right, welcome everybody to the Plan Commission. Today is Tuesday, March 25th. It is 6 p.m. First order of business is the roll call. First, I'll start with Jared Holter. Here. Tom Smith. Here. Bill Lethan. Mayor Smith.
I am here.
And I'm Mike Milkey. I'm present. We have Jan Brock and Eric Archer absent, excused tonight.
No, I'm here.
Oh, sorry, Jan.
I'm here. Thank you.
Sorry. Yep.
That's okay.
All right. Item 2 is a consideration action on the minutes from the previous meeting.
I'll second.
All right. We have a motion by Bill Lethan to approve the minutes and a second by Tom Smith. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 3 is public input. If anyone from the public would like to address the Plan Commission, now is the time to do so. Please begin by stating your name and address and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Would anyone like to address the Plan Commission? Second call. Third and final call. All right, we will move on and close that portion of the meeting. Item 4 is a public hearing for the general development plan application to create a downtown plan unit development to facilitate the redevelopment of a commercial building and request deviations from the Unified Development Code, including but not limited to reducing parking lot setback from 5 feet, reducing the minimum building/street frontage percentage requirement, reducing minimum transparency on a street-facing facade, allowing blank walls on the western facade, and proposed facade materials located at 314 Main Street. This is tax parcel ID number 18-157-0, and the applicant being Golden Eggers LLC. Would anyone like to speak in favor of the GDP tonight? Second call. Third and final call. All right, we'll move on to the next portion and close that. Would anyone like to speak against the GDP application tonight? Second call. Third and final call. We will consider that portion of the meeting closed, and I will hand this over to our planning director, Katie Asmussen.
Thank you. The owner of 314 Main Street is requesting to redevelop the existing facility into a new restaurant among Golden Egg Rolls, as well as complete other site improvements. This downtown planned unit development request is to allow for 5 reductions from the Unified Development Code pertaining to reducing the parking lot setback from 5 feet, reducing the minimum building street frontage percentage requirement, reducing the minimum transparency on a street-facing facade, and allowing a blank wall on the western facade and proposed facade materials. Included in your packet is a cover letter from the applicant's contractor that further describes their PUD deviation request, as well as a plan set showing the site plan and proposed architectural renderings of the building. I'm going to go through the deviation requests. Where there have been no deviations are in reference to permitted uses, PUD perimeter, lot area, yard setbacks, building height, environmental design, common open space, streets, utilities and drainage, circulation and access, landscaping, and signage. So now I'll focus on the requests and the reasoning for the 5 PUD deviations. The first is tied to the fact that this parcel is zoned mixed-use community, which has specific district specifications found within our code. Included in the packet, again, is the cover letter as well as the plan set detailing the deviation requests. In this particular district, the minimum percentage of the building street frontage is supposed to be 75%. The first deviation request is to reduce this to 64%. This standard related to the building street frontage did not exist at the time of original construction, and it would require a building addition that removed parking from the parcel. The second deviation request is that our mixed-use community district requires a minimum of 60% transparency, which translates into the amount of window square footage on a building, on a street-facing facade. So this particular one is to reduce from 60% to 34%. According to the applicant, to meet the necessary requirement, windows would have to be installed from the floor to the ceiling, which would have to be the full length of the facade, which could expose structural framing members, and the applicant further suggests that meeting this requirement could compromise the structural integrity of the building. The third deviation request pertains to the minimum percentage of a blank wall next to a public alley. So a blank wall means that there is no facade change. Essentially, it's either all siding or all of one particular material. So that's considered a blank wall. If it's broken up by a door or a change in material, then it's no longer considered a blank facade. So the third addition is to allow the existing facade on the 1998 addition to remain without windows as with the original construction. The applicant is proposing to remove the existing facade and install decorative horizontal steel siding. This request only pertains to the western facade, and the applicant has already come into conformance with the code by adding a minimum of 12% of new window transparency and other architectural details to reduce blank wall space. So it is not the entire western facade, it's only a portion of the proposed facade work. The fourth deviation request pertains to facade materials. In the MUC district, it is required that the dominant materials, 75% excluding your glass window square footage, has to consist of a higher quality, more durable materials characteristic of traditional downtown buildings, including masonry, clay or concrete, brick, natural or textured cast concrete, stone. Other modern materials can be considered by the city if they provide similar visual character, color, and quality to that of traditional downtown building materials. This standard will only apply to the street, the northern facing facade along Main Street, and the alley facing western facade. The other two facades are not dominantly visible, and it's on an interior lot line, so it's only what you can see from the street applies to this criteria. The existing building materials include today a combination of LP Smart siding, which is an engineered wood composite siding, TI-11 wood siding, and vertical metal siding. The TI-11 wood siding and vertical metal siding do not meet our design requirements, and they are scheduled for removal by the applicant, which would be coming into conformance. The applicant is proposing on the western facade a new architectural horizontal steel siding and 3 new aluminum framed windows. On the northern facade, the LP Smart wood siding is to remain with new larger windows with accents above the windows, including that horizontal steel siding. As the property owner is spending more than 50% of the value of the structure on this project, our district-specific standards apply. The original building was constructed in 1973 and had been internally remodeled numerous times, changing the use over the years. Further, it had an addition installed in 1998. These projects did not attempt to modify the exterior facade in any way in regard to the new windows or material selection. So what that means is that since its construction, there's been very little change to the exterior of this building. Further, the mixed-use community standards were not in effect until 2020. City staff support the requested deviations as detailed above, as the applicant has taken multiple steps to improve the appearance of the structure and attempt to conform to the standards overall. City staff do, however, recommend the inclusion of a brick or masonry component on a portion of the facility, namely the facade facing Main Street and a portion of the western facade along the public alley. For example, a brick masonry component along the bottom of the building up perhaps 3 to 5 feet on Main Street and wrapping along the western facade through the window features. I believe that this would assist in meeting the intent of the facade material criteria as listed above in our fourth deviation request. Originally, we had been working with the applicant to make different changes to the facade overall. Originally, it was all meant to be horizontal steel siding. And since then, in working with city staff, they are not redoing the entire facility because they're looking to maintain some of the existing wood on site. So there has been at least a small cost reduction in terms of that they don't have to redo the entire facility based on conversations with city staff. The next deviation request is in relation to their parking area. The property is currently served by 9 existing parking stalls. The total proposed parking count is 18 in order to serve the development, and this is the minimum amount that they need. If in the future, should the applicant request, a property owner, just as a side note, may request up to a 25% reduction with permission from the planning department or a 50% reduction with permission from the common council. To note though, however, what they are proposing is code compliant. This is just if in the future they wanted to make a change or do an addition or something to that effect, they would have an opportunity to work with the city as well. Parking lots are required to have a minimum of a 5-foot setback from all parcel boundaries. The setback is proposed to be met on the northeastern portion of the parcel. However, the southern, western, and northwestern portion of the parcel currently have a reduced setback of either 0 or less than 2 feet. City staff are recommending approval of the reduced parking lot setback as the site was originally developed in 1973 with an addition in 1998, and parking lot setbacks were not required at any of these times. City staff have put together a total of 19 conditions of approval for this development. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. Now we'll turn over to the Plan Commission. What would be the desire tonight of the Plan Commission?
I'll make a motion that we approve the request for the general development plan for the Mount Golden Egg Road DPUD application with the 19 conditions attached.
Bill Lethan will second.
All right, we have a motion by Tom Smith and a second by Bill Leithland to approve. We'll turn this over for some discussion now. Does anyone like to speak on this matter? I guess I will take the floor quick. So when we're talking about, let me go to this page quick. The northern portion of the building, so the front Main Street facing portion. Right now, we have the steel siding, the original wood, the steel, so it's kind of layered together, correct? And one thing that we might consider would be to add brick basically below these new windows to kind of tie into the downtown features. Is that correct?
So that is a recommendation by the city staff. There's various ways that the Plan Commission or Common Council could choose to recommend. You could look at doing brick just flat across the foundation of the building, which is fairly common, and then wrapping along on the western side only so far. Staff, again, in ours, I was recommending only along the windows on the western facade down the alley, so would not have to run the full length of the building. This is just a suggestion. But I believe based on what you see in our downtown area, there is a lot of brick features that are noticed throughout the area. However, the Plan Commission does have the ability to consider more modern facades, and this would be considered a modern facade. So the way that condition number 18 is written is that developer allowed to deviate from required facade materials as stated in section 13.02.54.d.1 of the UDC on the western and northern facades as shown on the associated site plan. This is exactly what they are proposing is what you would be approving. So if you wanted them to include some fashion of a brick, you would need to amend that condition to change it to whatever you'd want it to read or to have some sort of an inclusion. You could also direct them to work with city staff if you wanted them to have some sort of a brick and leave it up to staff to work with the applicant. That is another opportunity, but you would need to amend the motion to incorporate some sort of a change than what is being proposed to you this evening.
Okay, thank you.
The reason for the suggestion is basically a curb appeal. It's not a structural requirement, correct?
Correct. It's not a structural requirement. This is strictly curb appeal. But this is something that our facade materials in our mixed use community and mixed use neighborhood district, the Plan Commission and Common Council felt it important to have design criteria associated with them. So that is why I believe they have taken necessary steps throughout the entire length of what they're proposing to come into conformance. This was one feature that I believe that the city could do if it worked and if the Plan Commission and Common Council were amenable to heighten that design to make it blend in more with the downtown district.
So in order to accomplish what you just suggested, we need to stop and the motion as it stands right now and make an adjustment to the motion. Is that correct?
One could make an amendment to propose an amendment to particular item number 18 to that condition and have something related to inclusion of brick on the northern, or if you don't believe it needs to go on the western facade, you could say it would only go on the northern facade. This is all for discussion before the Plan Commission. It was a recommendation by staff.
I did drive through downtown just to, take a look at it, and there are a number of buildings that do have the brick, but there are a number of buildings that don't. Now, obviously, there's many reasons why that could be. But again, I mean, I do think I haven't seen like a picture of the actual building, like what it look. I mean, I've seen the like drawing, so I can't visualize exactly what it looks like, but it seems like the metal siding is kind of I guess it feels newer. It feels unique. So I guess I'm just kind of speaking out loud, but I don't know what you all think, but I mean, it sounds like this new material is going to be relatively nice, I guess.
I kind of agree with you. I kind of like the brick. I mean, the character of that main street is really, the brick brings that old traditional look, that I think that character has with our lights and the way it's designed the city. So I like the idea of maybe looking at putting at least the brick facade on the front of that one. That would be a thought that I would support.
I agree. This is Jan Brock. I wondered if the Petersley building on the same block, if we had required them to upgrade to this standard with the facade materials.
So when the Petersley development did come in, they didn't use brick, but they did use the wood feature, which also played into what it is that they're looking at doing. So while it was a more modern approach, that also did not require a planned unit development. So that was internally reviewed by staff. And again, it's okay if they don't have brick, if they use a modern feature. So ultimately, because it's coming forward as part of a planned unit development, that's where Plan Commission makes the call as opposed to staff.
I do agree with everyone that I think a little brick on the building would add some warmth to it, and I would feel comfortable letting them discuss that with city staff.
Anybody else?
If we pass the motion as it is right now, they don't have to talk to city staff. They can just do whatever they want.
Right,
If
so we
you-
should amend 18.
Correct. If you adopt what is before you this evening, what they have in the packet is what they will do, and they would not need to do any brick.
Gotcha.
Okay, this is
I'm
Kim.
going to withdraw my second.
You can keep it. We can amend it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, somebody can file a motion for an amendment, and then that can be seconded and it can add to this.
yes.
Mike,
yes.
this is Kim. When it's my turn, let me know.
Do you want? Go ahead, Mayor Kim.
Okay, sorry. It's hard when you're virtual. It's always hard to tell when it's your turn to talk. Okay, I just want to say, thank you. Really, to the group from Golden Egg Rolls putting this together. I'm really excited to see this improvement going in our downtown. It's exciting to have a new business coming. And really to see some upgrades to this business building, as Katie was describing, a lot of these upgrades, haven't been done for such a long time. So it's great to see this, and I don't want to have that get lost in this discussion. So while, I see the point about the bricks, it's hard from these sketches that we have to visualize what the building will look like. And to tell, how that will go with our downtown feel, having it blend in and be a part of, what we're trying to have for, our downtown district. But, so my initial thought was that we could amend the request to have perhaps a certain percentage of it to be brick, but the more I'm looking at it, I guess I just really am not sure. I know there's a lot of very nice material. And it seems like they've put a lot of thought into the what the building will look like. And so at this point, I'm a little more prone to let the people move forward with their project. And Brickell Brothers is a well-respected company in our community as well. To let them work with Katie and to continue on with their plan without further amending this at this point. That's my position. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Anybody else want to bring anything up?
This is Jan Brock again. I'm sorry, I may be delayed. I'm in Mexico, so I'm not sure. But if we did amend it, I think it would be appropriate only to amend it to allow our city staff to work with Brickell Brothers and the new owners to make sure that they have something that is amenable to everyone. I read that they spent a lot of money in doing this, and this is such a boom for our community, and what a great addition, so that would be my only thing. I would not want to specify what they needed to do. I would just want them to work with city staff so that it's agreeable to everyone, Brickell Brothers, city staff, and Katie and her city staff, and also the new owners. Thank you.
Mike. Go ahead, Jared.
If I could just interject I agree with Jan, but I disagree with Jan because puts city staff in a hard spot.
Sorry.
Is it supposed to be half of the, is the front of the building supposed to be half brick or third brick or, I mean, they come back and they're going to want to put this amount of brick in, or that's not enough. And it's a very hard thing to quantify, and it's all in the beauty of the beholder. I mean, I look at the plan now and I think it's the building's going to transform totally different look. I mean,
It will.
I know the materials that the contractor typically uses. Is brick even going to go with it? I don't even know if brick's going to be the right thing. It could be a different combination of some sort of material. I think really what we're looking for is a change in material to accent the downtown, and instead of having solid, trying to break things up is really our goal. But we're trying to follow the downtown, but their palette selection with materials may be so far off from what that is downtown that you may be going down a path where it
doesn't work.
Odd at some point. But I like the idea of working with staff. We definitely want to have staff work with the developer on this, but it just puts it in a tough spot if you want to see something underneath the window, or is it the whole front, or 6 feet? I mean, I can look at it and say we should go 6 feet up, and then they might come back and say, well, we only think 2 is going to look right. But that's just my thoughts.
This is Jan Brock again. Thank you, Jared, for that. I agree. I didn't mean to put you all in a tough situation. I just trust you. So, I think the building, it does, the rendering that we have looks, good. I mean, I think any improvement will be helpful.
Go ahead, Katie.
If the applicant had an opinion on the matter, since we're talking it, we do have them here. So if someone would like to comment on there, if this is a possibility or if it would be considered, either if it was someone from Brickell or also from Mung Golden Egg Rolls, if that might aid in the discussion, if they wanted to participate.
Would anybody like to speak? You don't have to. Does, do y'all have a picture of, like, I would just like to see like what that material looks like.
This is Kim. Well, there's a moment. If they come up, I'll stop talking, but
And
in here,
this is where you want?
Katie, I don't think it's in the plan commission packet. There was another,
No, we don't have. a
another
big-
drawing that,
No, it is.
Oh, no.
didn't we have wasn't there?
Yeah,
was
we
that the
have that.
packet?
I have that.
Yeah, we have that.
Yep, that's so what's on the screen is the proposed rendering. So the north elevation is Main Street. And then the west elevation is where the current mural is today, which would be replaced with the windows.
Right.
Right.
So
can
Yep.
you, I can't see that. Can you see that, Jen?
I have
page
it on
40.
my, yeah, I'm using two devices. Yes, I have it on my iPad. I can see it.
Mayor Kim, it's page 14 of the packet.
Right.
So Jason Skifton with Brickell Brothers. Yeah, so what we're doing is the architectural metal above and below the windows. Chong, do you have any input on adding brick onto this or not adding brick? I think it's gonna give it a modern look, and that's kind of what we were trying to accomplish here when we first talked here. And I do agree with everybody. I think this is gonna be a huge improvement on the building with what
Yeah,
we're
no.
proposing. My only concern with the brick is with an existing building and the existing foundations, it's gonna have to be can't be a traditional brick, it would have to be kind of a mortarless kind of brick. And my concern is how that would look
Yeah, I think
versus what you have right now in the city.
you're not gonna be able to do a true brick masonry facade. It would have to be some sort of
Yeah, engineered.
engineer, yeah, just,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Okay.
Would you have a different suggestion if brick was not the correct use of something that could tie it closer to those? Or is this what the applicant would like to pursue, what they have in the packet?
I think this is what the applicant would like to pursue, yes.
All right.
Do we have any other discussion?
Well, this going on, I'll
Yeah,
I'll redo my
give me a
second.
second. Yeah, I'll stay with my first.
Yes.
Do you want to stick with the original, with the 19 conditions, not make any extra changes, correct? Not amending this?
This is Jan Brock. I think that's a good idea to move forward.
Do you second? You second that? Yeah.
Okay, well, it looks like all the discussion's done. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
filling in. So I guess we'll take this to a vote. So all those in favor of approving with the 19 conditions as stated in the packet, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. On to item number 5. This is a certified survey map application to subdivide one parcel into two parcels located at 420 Troy Street, tax parcel number 18-1227-0. Applicant being Veerbecker Engineering and Rivers Edge Remodels LLC. I'll hand this over to our planning director, Katie.
Thank you. The parcel in question is zoned low medium density residential R2, and it contains a single family dwelling today. The property owner is requesting to subdivide this parcel of land into two parcels to construct a new single family development on the southern portion, which is shown as Lot 2 in your packet this evening. Access would be attained via East Avenue North. Both of the proposed parcels, Lot 1 and 2, meet the minimum lot development standards found in Table 13.02.24-1, lot dimension standards, and Table 13.02.25-1, site dimension standards in the low-medium density residential district. Before you are 13 conditions of approval tied to this development. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. I'd like to turn this over to the Plan Commission. Anyone like to make a motion?
Motion to approve the certified survey map for 420 Troy Street with the conditions attached.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Jared Holter to approve and a second by Tom Smith. Is there any discussion? I guess I just want to make a comment. Anytime we can subdivide something like this and it fits within our, codes and everything looks right, I think it's kind of a no-brainer. When we can add, more to the city. So I guess that's my only comment.
Great.
All right. Well, since there's no more discussion, we will turn this over. Oh, sorry, Katie.
Jared, do we have need for conditions number 8 and 9 any longer?
So we did, since the plan commission packet did go out, we did realize that our staff did go out and find a sanitary sewer lateral and water lateral for the property, which was a very happy day. Not only for the city, but for the developer, because we don't have to dig out in the street now. So I guess condition 8 can stay. We wouldn't need condition number 9 anymore, but if it's in there, it's not gonna hurt anything. So we just won't have to use the condition that's in there. So
Do you need that removed for record? No? Okay. Any other discussion? All right, we'll move this to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Nay? Nay? Sounds like this passed unanimous. We'll move on to the next, which is item number 6. Final implementation plan application to create the downtown planned unit development for the redevelopment of the commercial building. This is for tax parcel 18-157-0, applicant being Golden Egg Rolls LLC. And I'll turn this over to Katie.
Thank you. So as previously stated, the owner is looking to redevelop the existing facility. They have requested 5 deviations from the Unified Development Code as previously described in agenda item number 4. There are a total of 18 conditions of approval for this particular development for consideration by the Plan Commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. Turn this over to Plan Commission now.
I'll request that we approve the final implementation plan for the Hmong Golden Agro DPD application with the 18 conditions attached.
I'll second. We have a motion by Tom Smith for approval and a second by Mike Milkey. Is there any discussion? Not seeing any. We will move this to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next item is 7. That would be adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to adjourn by Tom Smith and it's been seconded by Bill Leithman. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Time of the meeting is 6:34. And thank you all for being here.